Going back through last week quick again. Again, didn't do a good job again defensively for sure, especially stopping the run. Kind of felt Northwestern with their attack could give us some matchup problems, so it was very disappointing. I thought they could throw the ball and make some plays, or both their quarterback plays, so it allowed them to run. And once again, it's a couple, 3 weeks in a row. Iowa ran the ball well, and then their quarterback play. Wisconsin the same with Russell Wilson, and then with Illinois, the way they played against us. We've had a few weeks where our defense has had a hard time making anybody one-dimensional. So the run game, the inability to stop that was disappointing. You know, the best game we played to date defensively was against Penn State, where as they struggled in the throw game, we were able to, kind of play decent defense against a team that was running the ball and tackle good. Since then, we've had a hard time where we've allowed running games to take off with good passing games, or vice versa. A quarterback have a hot hand. So I think that's now 3 games in a row we didn't have a defensive takeaway. And I actually looked up, I think I said this last night, some of you guys heard, I saw in our defensive stats that the team right ahead of us in total defense is Oklahoma State. And yet they're third in the nation. They also lead the nation in creating turnovers. They lead the nation in turnover margin. They do have a phenomenal offense that they complement with their defense. So not saying that's our only deal, but the last couple of weeks, 3 weeks, we've only created 1 turnover. That was on the punt team last week. That's disappointing. So we want to keep harping on that and trying to play better defense, getting stops. I think we had 3 or 4 third downs. We actually made the stop, but a penalty allowed them to keep it going where we didn't execute by the rules. So, we just got to keep playing better defensively. No, we started some young guys that wasn't by design. That's just kind of right now some of the best guys in the mix of what's going on. I think we should have Jeff Thomas back this week. He did practice yesterday. He didn't practice last week with a slight shoulder deal, so we'll see how he goes as we move forward and either get him in the mix or complement like we did last week with Chase and Dahlstrom Griffin. Offensively, we ran the ball better a couple weeks in a row, same time, and the line's getting better. Stephen Houston's coming along. Trey's got a couple games under his belt. Thought Ed had a better week of practice last week too, so that was good to see. Dusty is starting to do some slight running, but he didn't practice as of yet, so we'll see as we move forward through the week with he. But I thought Ed had a better week. But Trey, the more he's played, he's settled down. The run game, was better, but at the same time, we'll get a tremendous challenge this week with Ohio State, their run defense, the way they play defense. So we made some okay strides there, but the real stride is scoring points and winning. And we, again, like the defense, we stopped ourselves, I want to say, with a turnover. I think 3 times we had the first down on third down where a penalty took us out, and then we punted. So last week, the way the game was going, we needed to keep pace, keep score offensively, and even though you could say they made some strides, we weren't able to keep in flux. Last thing, kicking game. Disappointed there with our kick. We kicked 2 out of bounds, giving them the ball in the 40, and we let them bust 1 out across midfield. So we gave them 3 short fields and then a turnover where they start on our side of the ball. So we keep talking about need better defensive play, but you can't put a defense that's maybe struggling or not playing as good as you want in bad situations. So the kickoff team was disappointing. I know Mitch has done a pretty good job with handling our kicks all year, but he has had a couple go out of bounds. We try to pin a team into the corner once in a while. We've kind of miscalculated or misjudged our kick spot, and that's kind of hurt us. So we need to be a little bit better there. So that's kind of that deal. Moving forward, we had a suspension the other day with DeMarlo Belcher, but that has in fact turned out that's going to be a dismissal from the team. You guys saw that yesterday. I'm not going to go into great details other than no issue other than our seniors and I back in preseason went through the rules we wanted. The seniors actually amended and gave me some ideas of things they wanted with things we want to do, and all the players are aware of that, signed off on that. We go through that during the year, and unfortunately, just with some things that happened, it got to a point, and even our very first meeting, and I've said this to you guys a couple times, the best players and the seniors are held to the highest standards, whether it be on the field, off the field, performance, practice habits, just doing things right. So there's not, we don't have, sacred cows, no individuals above anything, and so it's unfortunate that this has happened to what I think is a good kid and potentially a good player, but at the same time, just by following our guidelines, just didn't do the things that needed to do in some situations, and it's led to the dismissal, and that's kind of it with that. So then moving on to Ohio State, again coming off two good wins back to back. I think they're sitting out 5-3. Could have had 3 wins in a row. They were playing very, very well at Nebraska, and when their freshman quarterback, who's done a nice job, Braxton Miller, when he was injured, I think you guys are aware they didn't close the game out at Nebraska, but kind of played extremely well at their place for 3 quarters. Defensively, again, very stout, great run defense, challenged very well in the pass game as well. Again, they lost, a close game to Michigan State in a defensive struggle. They lost at Miami of Florida, and they lost at Nebraska. So they've lost to 3 solid teams, 5-3. Is a little transition, but I got a lot of respect for Luke Fickell and all the coaches that were there. We've shared with those guys through the last few years. A number of those guys I've known since the 90s. And again, I think they're doing a good job in a difficult situation. Going to Columbus is going to be unique and special. One of the great places to play. Our kids will get a chance to go there as always right now. With schedule change back-to-back years, but if you're a freshman young guy, it's every other year. So we look forward to going into a great venue, 12 o'clock kick. Again, we thought we had a good start to yesterday's practice again. We'd still like to see us take some things from the practice field to the game field, but again, look forward to going against the Buckeyes, and it'll be a great challenge. So with that, we'll see what you guys got.
I just want to ask one question on the model, I guess. Was it maybe a singular egregious offense, or was there kind of a series of things?
Well, again, not being specific, but, we're not where, a guy does something, unless it's a major deal. Typically, you kind of work through situations, whether it be, again, class issues or whatever with guys, and you try to get guys right. So, again, it was kind of a little bit of through time. It's, again, seldom, unless it's a major act. And most of those acts would probably lead to expulsion from school, and that wasn't the case.
How does that just sort of change the dynamic of the receiving corps at this point?
I don't know. He's been out so much with injury and, hadn't played the last couple of weeks. I mean, he's got 25 catches, and I think we got 180-some catches, so you lose a percentage. But, at the same time, we've played enough without him, and those young guys have kind of rallied up and did okay. So it's not all of a sudden like you were just set with something that was just like a constant figure and all that. So, it's not there for sure. Where there's some weeks that with that little knee injury he was in and out. So I don't know if it's as big a deal as it maybe cosmetically looks.
You've had a lot of guys either be dismissed or leave the team of their own accord. It's not something that has normally happened at this program all that often. Was this something that you anticipated going into the year? You thought that this might be kind of the case?
No, not at all. But at the same time, I think we've been pretty, and I don't think we're very, very rigid. Like I say, the team rules that are set were set with the seniors. They actually gave me suggestions and amended some things, because to me, it's not a rule unless they're going to follow it. So it's not, a coach sitting up here like, hey, if we're going to have, like during the week, we have certain nights, we have curfews and, things we can do and can't do, where we need to be, et cetera, as we get closer, as the game approaches. And that's kind of standard issue of every program I've been. But again, we have player feedback, and again, share all the team rules with the guys. Everyone signs off on it. They get a copy. They sign and state that they understand the rules. And we go through it as you go through the year, again, and you guys don't get in the locker room, but that we'll go through actually a couple of our team rules as soon as the game's over, as we are doing things on Saturday night, as we go through like class attendance or tutoring. And so we're always kind of, just kind of putting, again, reminders of doing what you're supposed to do. I don't think it's anything unusual or anything different from anywhere else. I just think,
Have this many people leave?
no, I don't think it's unusual to kind of have policies and hold guys to standards at most programs. So, and again, like I say, it's not like, hey, you're done, you try to work with it. But I don't think, again, I've been a part where Adrian Peterson didn't go to class and didn't play in a game. I think he was pretty good. And I saw the number 1 quarterback in the country break some rules and was dismissed from a program the second it happened. And wasn't a big deal. You kind of move on. So, again, that being said, and that was actually said in our first meeting. Again, I don't know who it is, but the best players in the room are held to the highest standard. And again, we still work with guys, and we continue to work with them. So, but anyway, let's get on Ohio State.
Defensively, the issues that you've had in the past 4 games, are those things that can be fixed by Saturday? Is it with this current group, or is this something that's going to be a long-term fix?
Well, the only thing, again, the last couple of weeks, you play some teams that, as they got on a roll, have played well and played both sides, play with both hands, a running game and a pass game. Ohio State's coming in with a definite commitment to run the ball. with a young quarterback and a very athletic, or probably the most athletic quarterback that we've seen that built in. We saw some guys that could run around. He is for sure the guy that is, and that's no disrespect to the others, he is as good of a guy that can make some plays. And it's not necessarily designed quarterback runs, but just a guy that can extend some plays, make some plays. As a young guy, you can see him working through their pass game as they go. They're playing good enough defense, much like Penn State is. You're playing good enough defense. You don't have to offensively stress yourself out, so you can play a little close to the vest, take your shots when you want to, but play field position because they back up their offense with a very, very solid defense. And that's given them a chance to play very good these last few weeks and down the stretch.
Talked a lot about the young guys that you've had to play on that side of the ball, I guess. Is it sort of more of an issue? Is it hard to coordinate those guys because not only are you playing a lot of young guys, but they're also moving around? You're not having kind of the same young guys in the same places every week.
Well, I think the issue, with Leon Beckham coming back, you got Murphy from that hybrid linebacker back to safety, and we think he's a nice young player, but now it's another position, another read, so you've got 4, 5, 6 weeks. You go through preseason, you're playing safety. And then after the Ball State game, now you're a linebacker. And that's a different vision, different thought, different keys, different calls, different fits, different responsibilities. Leon comes back. Some of the safeties, a couple guys had gotten hurt. A couple of the other guys weren't playing quite as good as you would want. You move him back there. At the same time, it's a young guy. So there's going to be some glitches and busts. That's no disrespect to Mark. He's had as good a year defensively as anyone. And if you ask our defensive coaches, they would say he's probably competed as well, been as tough, played with as great of effort of anyone on defense. And that says a lot for a freshman. Says a lot for basically a high school tailback that played defense, that's learning how to play both sides of the ball. So that's not a slight of him. So again, we've moved a few guys around. That's not by design. I keep cautioning our guys defensively. I think the one thing we did offensively a handful of weeks ago, we did settle on some things we wanted to do. In a couple games, it didn't look that good, but as we've kind of came through it, we've gotten some continuity, and Bernard Taylor and Peyton Eckert have kind of locked in the spots, and they're playing better. And you see Stephen Houston, getting better, and Trey, because we're repeating things, and there's a lot of carryover, getting better. Defensively, with some injuries and attacking some schemes, I don't know if we've given those young guys a chance to maybe repeat the process and be where they need to be. And I think that's something as coaches that I think we're looking at as we move forward. How can we make sure, because we can do a much better job coaching. All right, we got some players that need to play better, and we got some young players, yes, but as coaches, we got to do a better job of again, going through the week, preparing our team and putting them in better positions as we move forward.
I was going to say, when you have two freshman safeties and you also have a guy like Jeff gone, it seems like you don't have anybody in the middle of the field who can really direct traffic. How big of an issue was that last week? Just not necessarily.
Well, you make a great point. I wouldn't say last week. I'd say in general. I think, again, you got new scheme, new guys. We're not a very loud team. I mean, we're on the practice field, and I can hardly hear calls. Well, I know when you put some folks in the stands, this week you're going to pushing 100,000. You need to speak up, and again, a confident man on the field, there's a way you talk, there's a way you carry yourself. And that being said, with a young team, with new scheme, with position changes, as we go through our communication and that's not mad at our players, but that's something that we are constantly harping on how to improve that as we practice. So when we're practicing things, Dustin, that's actually one of the things we're trying to practice. And as we move forward, we've got to be a lot better there. And it's almost like, to the point as a player, just because you know the call, don't sit on it. I mean, don't worry about you, worry about everybody else. Let's be loud again in passing the calls, communications, because it isn't just getting a call from the bench. A lot of times defensively in this day and age, when something is called, as soon as that formation lines up, it gets adjusted. Wait a minute. Now, we didn't, and because the uniqueness in college football now is the ability to line up in personnel, but all of a sudden go to no backs or one back or unbalanced sets that all of a sudden things need to get cleaned up. This call is nice if we anticipated the formation. A lot of times defensively, the personnel, you're guessing the formation. That being said, even when you make the call, there's adjustment. And that's where the communication becomes even more critical. When there's motion, back shifting sides, back to the tight end, back away from the tight end, that affects sometimes rotation of coverages and matchups. And as those things happen, communicating it's critical. And if we can be a lot better at a lot of things, but defensively, it shouldn't be that difficult. But as a young team, new staff, new schemes, moving guys around, we got to be a lot better there.
Coach, we look at 204 points in 4 games. Do you see progression out there on this defense?
giving up points.
I mean, just in general, I mean, we're looking at the points, but you're looking at other things, so are you seeing a progression there?
A progression of what?
Just getting better, anything that says this team is, this defense is getting better, doing the things that you want.
I mean, when you're giving up 50 a game, I mean, that's, that's what you're doing it for, you say no. But again, when you're giving 50 a game and your kicker kicks out of bounds twice and you run it back to 50, they're going to score points already. I mean, I think if you do stat studies, when you start on your side of the 40, you score about 47, 50% of the time. So again, when the offense starts, I mean, you got 28 points attributed to halfway short fields. They need to make some stops. They need to hold them to 3. But again, it's a total team effort too now. So I mean, the defense can play better. But again, again, I go, if we want to look at all the stats and numbers, I just do it yesterday. As I was going through, not trying to, I found where Oklahoma State's defense was rated. I know their offense is significantly better than ours, and they do a great job. But what was amazing, even though they give up plays, they created those turnovers. And you go through 3 games, we haven't created a defensive turnover. Not that we'll get one this week, but we were sitting early. I think we're sitting on 13 after 6 games, over 2 a game. And that being said, that was getting some stops. We had 3 stops the other day defensively. When we do stop them, we get penalties. Now we give them, just for not, playing by the rules. So again, there's some issues defensively. And again, I think some of the issues as we move forward is just schematically how to keep learning our players and putting them in good matchups, whether it be man coverage, when to play man, how to give help. Where's your help coming from? Inside leverage, outside leverage, defensively. How much do you play straight? How much movement do you do? How much do you blitz? I mean, there's all kinds of things that we got to go through. And I would like to think, and I said this the other day, but I would hope our players are getting better. But I think the critical thing right now as coaches, are we getting better? Are we learning where are we at talent-wise? Where are we at attitude-wise? Where are we at schematically? And how do we match up and how do we move forward as we move forward in building our team?